The code. It's not just a set of rules, it's the skeleton of the outlaw world, the bone-deep structure that keeps the whole ugly, beautiful thing from collapsing into anarchy. The Savage Sons MC had many articles etched into that invisible book, but none carried the raw, existential dread of Article 12, the unforgivable betrayal. Article 12 didn't offer negotiation, redemption, or second chances. It demanded only one thing: death. Our story centers on Judge, the Savage Sons enforcer. He was a man carved from granite and silence, whose patch bore the skull and hammer of his office. His name was no idle boast. He was the final arbiter of the code, the man who read the sentence and executed the verdict. Judge knew the weight of his task better than anyone. He didn't enjoy the violence, but he respected the necessity. Without the code, they were just thugs. With it, they were a society, harsh but surviving. The target was Silas, a patched son for 15 years, a brother who had ridden the hard miles and shed blood for the colors. Silas had fallen, not by getting sloppy with the law or by crossing a rival club. Those were sins of the road. Silas's sin was internal, a cancer that threatened the very fabric of the Brotherhood. He'd been secretly selling their protected information to the rival Iron Vipers MC. Territory, routes, financial dealings, even the names and locations of their silent partners. It was treason, pure and cold. The fallout had already cost the Savage Sons 2 major runs and nearly gotten their treasurer, Slide, killed in a rigged ambush. The evidence was irrefutable, laid out by Wren, the VP, who was meticulous in his accounting of betrayal. The verdict was reached by the full table, unanimous. The moment the vote was cast, Silas ceased to be a brother and became a violation of Article 12. The execution order fell to Judge. The method was simple: find him, end him, and bury the problem forever. The club's stability, their honor, their survival, depended on this immediate, brutal clarity. The code demanded death to ensure life for the many. Judge found Silas hiding in a dilapidated fishing shack on the remote Oregon coast, a place of gray skies and endless hammering rain. The shack was cold, smelling of stale fear and salt water. Judge stood in the doorway, the light from the weak bulb illuminating the cold, silent steel of his presence. Silas didn't try to run. He knew the drill. The enforcer had arrived. "Judge," Silas rasped, his eyes sunken, his hands trembling. "You're early." "The code doesn't wait for good timing, Silas," Judge replied, his voice a low, unchanging frequency. "We know what you did. Wren laid it all out. You sold us out." Article 12. Silas didn't deny it. He sank onto a busted wooden chair, burying his face in his hands. "I know. I'm not asking for mercy. I need you to know why." Judge remained impassive. The why is irrelevant. The cost to the club is the only metric that matters. "It's about the boy," Silas whispered, looking up, his eyes now welling up not with fear for his own life, but a deep, unbearable sorrow. "My son, Leo. He's 7. He has a rare blood disorder. He needs a specific experimental treatment, monthly. It costs everything. The club fund wouldn't touch it. I went to the bank, they laughed. The Vipers offered a deal, money for information. I knew the price. I just thought I could make enough to save him, then disappear, let the code find me later. But they kept asking for more. They kept taking." Judge felt a flicker, a momentary thermal current of doubt beneath the granite. The code didn't account for sick children. It didn't factor in a father's desperate, impossible love. It was a perfect, cold machine of justice designed for the perfect outlaw world. But the world, as Judge knew, was deeply, terribly flawed. Judge took a step closer, his hand resting near the holstered heavy-caliber pistol. "You had a choice, Silas. You could have come to the table. We would have found a way. Maybe not the club fund, but we would have worked it. You broke trust. You betrayed the family for money." "No," Silas cried, his voice breaking. "I betrayed the code for a life. My boy will die without the money. He's an innocent. He has no part in our life, our code. If I die now, the Vipers stop the payments. He dies in 2 months. I have the next payment secured, but after that, he's gone." Judge stood completely still. His mind raced. He was the enforcer. His duty was simple: eliminate the cancer. If he hesitated, if he showed leniency, the code would break down. The savage sons would become weak, vulnerable, and the next betrayal would be built on the precedent of his mercy. The life of one boy, who existed completely outside their world, versus the survival of the entire brotherhood. A life worth nothing to the code, yet worth everything to the man standing before him. Silas reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, folded photo, a picture of a smiling boy with IV lines taped to his small arm. He pushed it across the battered table. "Look at him, Judge. Look at the innocent you condemn. My life, it's forfeit. But if you take it now, you're not just killing a traitor. You're signing a death certificate for a 7-year-old. Judge didn't look at the picture. His entire existence was predicated on not looking, on following the letter of the law. But the betrayal was not just information. It was information that threatened the security of the sons. Yet the reason for the betrayal was a primal human instinct, the defense of a child. It was the mirror opposite of the evil they had fought so recently, when President Ghost broke Rule 1 to save an innocent. Ghost broke Rule 1 to save an innocent. Judge was about to enforce Article 12, which would kill an innocent. Judge's grip tightened on his weapon. He had the power of the code in his hand, the certainty of his duty. But for the first time in his life as enforcer, he felt the terrible, agonizing uncertainty of his humanity. How much was a life worth when the code demanded death? And could a society of outlaws truly survive if the price of its sacred code was the life of a child? The rain beat against the corrugated metal of the shack, mimicking the frantic drumming in Judge's chest. Article 12 was supposed to be easy. It was the cleansing fire. Find the traitor, execute the sentence, clean. But the inclusion of the boy, Leo, changed the calculation entirely. The code did not account for externalities like medical expenses and parental despair. It only saw the crime: betrayal. Judge finally lifted his gaze from the floor and looked at Silas. He saw not the grinning brother he once rode beside, but a broken man who had traded his soul for a slim chance at his son's survival. If Judge pulled the trigger now, he would uphold the written code, maintaining the club's necessary discipline. But he would violate an older, deeper, unwritten code that resided in the heart of every true outlaw. The innocent must not pay the price for the sins of the father. This unwritten law was the foundation of the savage sons' claim to being men of honor, not just criminals. Judge lowered his hand, the metal clicking softly against the leather of his holster. The code demands death, Silas. That much is true. He walked over to the filthy window, his back to the man who betrayed them. But the savage sons were built on the idea of justice, not just enforcement. And justice means the debt falls only on the guilty. Silas stared at him, unable to comprehend the shift. "What are you saying, Judge?" "The money the Vipers gave you," Judge continued, his voice cold and precise. "Is that money clean? Can you guarantee they haven't put a leash on you, that they won't use this as leverage after your death to get more from us?" Silas shook his head violently. "No, I swear on Leo's life. They only wanted information. I cut contact as soon as I realized they were going to get people hurt. They don't know where Leo is. They don't know about the doctors. It was a clean transaction, cash for data." "We will verify that," Judge said, turning back around. His face was a mask of cold resolve. "If you are lying, I will come back and finish what I started, regardless of the consequences. But if you are telling the truth, we have a problem that cannot be solved by a bullet." The problem was Leo. The code demanded Silas's death, but the unwritten law of honor demanded Leo's life. The only way to save Leo was to ensure the payments continued. If the savage sons killed Silas, the Vipers would know the game was up, and they would stop the payments, letting Leo die as an act of casual spite against their rivals. This was the Vipers' true leverage. "Here is the sentence," Judge pronounced, his voice taking on the official somber tone of the gavel. "Article 12 is postponed. Not dismissed, postponed. You are now dead to the savage sons. You are a ghost. You will disappear completely. You will not contact the club. You will not contact your wife if you have one. You will dedicate your life to two things: protecting your son and repaying the club." Silas looked utterly defeated. "How can I repay it? I have nothing. You have information. The Iron Vipers think they own you. They think you are their man on the inside. You will continue to feed them information, the kind that does them no good, but keeps the payments flowing to your son's doctors. Every time you send them on a wild goose chase, every time you waste their resources, you are paying your debt." Judge leaned in, his eyes hard. "You are now a double agent, Silas. You will live under their leash to save your son, but every step you take is for the son's. If the payments stop, we know you betrayed us again. If the Vipers find out, they will kill you slowly. And if we find out you've tried to run or contact your old life, I will come for you. Understand this. You are condemned to live, Silas. To live and serve the code in the most dangerous way possible." The fear on Silas's face was replaced by a kind of awful relief. He had been spared the bullet, only to be given a life sentence of perpetual risk and isolation. "I understand, Judge. I will serve." Judge threw a worn black satellite phone onto the table. "This is your only link to us. Only for verified critical emergencies regarding the Vipers. Not for money, not for sentiment." He picked up the photo of the boy. He stared at the child's smiling, fragile face for a long moment, a moment heavy with the weight of the code, both written and unwritten. He put the photo back down. "Leo is an innocent. His life is the measure of your honor, Silas. Don't fail him again." Judge turned and walked out of the shack, leaving Silas alone with the immense, impossible burden of his suspended sentence. The code demanded death, but the honor of the outlaw, the inherent drive to protect the weak and punish only the truly malicious, had found a terrible, necessary loophole. Judge had upheld the spirit of the savage sons, justice over simple enforcement, by creating a life debt that was more painful and ultimately more useful than a quick execution. The wind howled outside. As Judge mounted his bike and rode away into the relentless coastal mist, he knew the decision would be controversial. President Ghost would understand, recognizing the necessary sacrifice of the code's letter for its spirit. But the others, they would see only the traitor spared. Judge was ready for the consequences. The code of the road was not about comfort. It was about necessary, brutal truth. And sometimes, the most honorable sentence was a lifelong debt.